Hey guys, so this is my first video since Age of Sigmar's release. Well, technically it's released tomorrow, but since all the rules are out, I've played about 50 or so games of Age of Sigmar so far. I love it. I think it's a fun game. Um, People have been coming in with issues of balance, um, which I could see the potential for having an issue if you're playing against hyper competitive players. So far, we've had games where we just agree to meet up, bring whatever we have, and play the game. And usually the matches are pretty damn close. The problem comes in when monsters are involved. Monsters seem to really swing the favor of the game one way or the other, which I love. That's one of the reasons I got into fantasy, was to play with the monsters. And 7th and 8th, monsters really weren't that common. Now monsters, I think, are the go-to choices for Age of Sigmar. So the way that I've decided to come across balancing, as opposed to evaluating everything as points, which I feel goes against the spirit of the game, because the game is supposed to be you select how many war scrolls you're bringing and that's what you bring. To bring balance into it, I've decided to go with a maximum unit size. So as opposed to evaluating every model on points, you still pick 6 war scrolls. Your opponent picks 6 war scrolls, but you're going to go through this chart, and this is how many models maximum you can take. So the minimum size is still applied. If it says that the gores, the minimum size is 10, your maximum size that you can take is 33. So the way that I got this formula to work out is to basically give every model a point value, and this is for bigger games. This is for 6 war scrolls and up. And so I'll explain more after I get into the actual the formula. So what did I use for formula? Well, I picked the 4 most important factors on the unit sheet, and it didn't really work out, so I went with movement as my 5th. And so what you do is you take the number of attacks, you multiply it by the number of wounds, you add the save value, you count down. So 6 plus armor save is a 1, a 5 up armor save is a 2, a 4 up armor save is a 3, so on and so on. You add that value, you add the rend value of the weapon that they're wielding, and then if they have movement value greater than 8, you put the difference into this box. So this means that you can take between 10 and 33 gores in one battle scroll. So there's no point values still, which I think is the whole spirit of the game. There's no point values involved. There's just restrictions on how many models you can bring in a given war scroll. So bestigores, you can only take 16. Ungores without bows, you can take 50. With bows, you have to take 33. Minotaurs with 2 axes, you can take 6. Minotaurs with great weapons, you can take 8. Centaurs, you can take 10. Razorgores, you can take a pack of 4. Warhounds, you can take up to 20. Harpies, you can take 9. And Chaos Spawns, you can only have 1 of. And Bretonia, you can have 11 of the 2 types of knights. You can have 7 for questing, 8 for Grail, only 4 Pegasus Knights, 33 Battle Pilgrims, 50 Men-at-Arms, 33 Bowmen, and 11 Mounted Yeomen. So again, maximum unit size, minimum unit size. So realistically, your knights, you're going to be fielding them in 10, because the minimum size is 10, and I think it might be 5. I'd have to double check that, but if it's 10, really that 1 extra guy doesn't do a ton for you, so you just be using 10 models. Demons of Chaos, the only things that changed really were the Plague Bearers. I gave them a 4 for their armor save because they have that if they fail their save, if they fail their save on a 5 or 6, they ignore the wound. So I went ahead and put them up to a 4, which reduces their countdown to 20. Blood Crushers you can only have 5 of. Nurgling Bases you can only have 5. Beasts of Nurgle you can only have 2. Burning Chariots you can only have 1. Seeker Chariots you can only have 1. Exalted Chariots you can only have 1. Hellflayers you can only have 1. Furies, I don't know why the Furies here are any different than... Oh, that's because they're Furies, not Harpies. That's right, they're slower. You can have 12. The dwarves are pretty much 16s across the board. Slayers, you can have 25. Where was there? Slayers. You can have 33 Slayers, 25 hammers, and then I went ahead and if you're using Iron Drakes with Drake guns, you can only have 16. If you're doing Troll hammers, you can only have 12. Iron Breakers with axes and hammers, you can only take 20. Dwarf hammers, you can take 33. Dwarfs with axes, you take 25. Quarrelers, you can take 25. Thunderers, you can take 20. Gyrocopters, you can take 2. Gyro bombers, you can take 2. Dark elves, the only really like staggering one was these. Yeah, the witch elves you can take 50 of because they have no armor and only 2 attacks. So, yep. Empire, you can take 3 demigryphs, which is awesome because that's the number of models in the box. This would, in rule of thumb, is if it's below the minimum number, you can take the minimum number. So, Empire Knights with hammers, you could probably take 10. Outriders, you're probably going to be able to take 10. Pistoliers, you're probably going to be able to take 10. But in Excel, there's no real way to do that well with just the formula working across everything. High Elves, I think the only really surprising thing was that they can take chariots. They can take 2 chariots in one of their war scrolls. But everything else is pretty damn close. I mean, like, Sword Masters and White Lions are exactly the same number. Phoenix Guards are a little bit better. I did the same thing, except for theirs is on a 4-up. You ignore it, so I bumped their armor save up to a 5. So you can only take 14 Phoenix Guards in one battle scroll. And then I'm working on Lizardmen next. But this is what we're going to be playtesting with to evaluate if this is a good balance mechanic. So as opposed to doing point evaluations and army constructions, it's still the spirit of Age of Sigmar, which is you bring war scrolls. The balance comes into you can only take a certain number of models in each war scroll. Again, if there's a minimum value, you take the minimum value. I think harpies are 10, so your minimum is 9, or your minimum is 10, not 9. I think this works well. It keeps certain things like Exalted Flamers you can only take 2 of in a war scroll because they're phenomenal. But if you want to take Pancores, you can take 25 of them. So it gives a nice versatility in your war scroll building, but there's still no point values. So let me know what you guys think. I'm really partial to this, but I'd love to hear some feedback. I can go ahead and put this up on my blog when I'm finished with it, and you guys can play test it and see what you guys think. Because again, I think the spirit of Age of Sigmar is you take war scrolls. It should not be a point crunch game. It's you bring war scrolls. If you want to put this into a league or a tournament environment, you're going to put restrictions on what models can be brought in a war scroll. And I think that's a really, really good way to get some semblance of balance. Because again, I mean, like, if you do a unit of Bestigors at 16, they've got 2 attacks, 1 wound, they've got 4-up armor save, and they rend once. And if you throw them against an Empire Swordmasters, they have, or Swordmasters or White Lions, they both have 2 attacks. They have 1 wound. They have a 4-up armor save. They rend once, and they also have 16 models. So everything is kind of balanced across itself just based on how many guys you have. And then the individual skill of the model takes into effect on their to hit and to wound chart profile. So again, let me know what you think. When it's done, I'll post it up. I'll make another video when it's finished, and I'll post it up as a free PDF or a link to the Google Docs, and you guys can try it out. And I'm totally up for feedback on what you guys think. So Tonight I will be playing a bunch of games of Age of Sigmar at my local game store. I'm going to be bringing my Beastmen, and hopefully I'll be able to snap a couple pictures and do a battle report using this system. So hopefully tomorrow or this weekend, I know I've got a really busy weekend. I'm running the demos for the game store for Age of Sigmar this weekend, so Saturday will be pretty full. But hopefully tomorrow, if not this weekend, I'll be able to get a couple battle reports up using this system. All right, guys, take it easy.